Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro. Now today, we have a viewer question, and this question comes from Jonathan, and it essentially goes like this. It's, Jack, hey, I was wondering if you could point me towards some stormwater management plans that I could take a look at, because I'm doing some ongoing stormwater, some ongoing research into stormwater treatment systems. I was going to take a look around on PD online, and probably still will, but I thought I'd ask you first in case you had anything you could point me towards. So Jonathan, I really like this question, and there's one main reason that I like it, and that's because it's showing initiative to get out there and learn from what other people are doing. So I presume you can then go back and apply it in your own work. And I really, really like that, because this is how the world improves. We go and we look at what other people have done before us. We look at what we like and what we don't like out of that. And then, we can ditch what we don't like. We can take what we do like, we can take inspiration from what we do like, and then we can add our own twist, add our own flavor from it, and that's how the world progresses forward. Now, some of you might be going, isn't that kind of like plagiarism? No, it's not. It's human nature. It's exactly what we do. Now, if someone was going and looking at a stormwater management plan and then copying it word for word, holus bolus, that's plagiarism. But looking at someone else's work, going out there trying to find good, well-written stormwater management plans, and then looking at them, looking at what you like, what you don't like, and then learning from that and building upon it yourself, that's awesome. And that is not plagiarism. So that's why I'm excited about this question. So the first part of this was, hey Jack, do you have any good stormwater management plans you can point me towards? I do have some good stormwater management plans. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely clear on whether I can share them. Because of how I've come to possess them, I'm comfortable that I can have copies of them, but I'm not entirely clear as to whether I can share them. So let's instead talk about how I would go from scratch trying to find some. Because I did similar sorts of things to this many years ago when I was first starting out at Logan City Council. I did trawl around on the internet looking for stormwater management plans, looking for developments to go and look at for exactly this purpose, to try and learn from them. So here's how I would do it. I would have a think about who the people or councils or consulting firms that I respect in the industry are. And then I would go and try and find out what I could about the projects that they've completed. And then I would start to dig in that way and then go looking for the stormwater management plans that way. Now, Jonathan, you mentioned PD Online. That's no doubt an invaluable tool. For anyone who's not familiar with PD Online, and this is probably particularly relevant for people overseas, although I'm sure there are equivalents to this in many, many, many places. PD Online is essentially an online tool. I assume it's used in all of Australia, but it's certainly used very, very widely in Queensland. But essentially, developer comes along to submit their development application to the council, and there's various rules about making that public so people can comment on it, people can contribute. There's, what's the word I want? Like public feedback requirements in the legislation. And so PD Online is essentially an online tool. Every council has their own PD Online where the information about development applications gets put up there so the public can access it and see what's being proposed. I'll show you an example of this. So, Brisbane City Council. If you were to Google Brisbane City Council PD, as in the letters PD, Brisbane City Council PD Online, you would get a link that would take you to this page here, which is the Brisbane City Council's PD Online resources. If we were to click here, it will take a second to load, but when it gets there, okay, you get into the tool itself. There are some terms and conditions that I have to accept, and then you could come down to property inquiry here and start to search on different properties. So PD Online is a really valuable tool there. But how would I get into it? So one option here, slight segue. One really basic option here is just jump into PD Online and start having a search around, look at recent applications and start flicking through them. Click on the application, it'll open up a bunch of documents, scan down, see if there's anything stormwater related in it. If there's not, leave, go to the next one. If there is something stormwater related, open it up in a new tab and move back. That's a little bit manual, but you'll definitely find some stormwater management plans. You won't necessarily find good ones. You might, right? But if we were to say that like the cream of the crop stormwater management plans are only say 5% or maybe even less than 5% of the total stormwater management plans out there, it's maybe less, then this is a fairly blunt object way to try and find them, because you're looking at every application. Only some of those have stormwater management plans, then only some of them are going to be the real cream of the crop that you really and truly want to learn from. Don't get me wrong, you can learn from the not so good ones as well. So blunt object approach that way. Less blunt object approach is to come back to this concept of thinking about the people that you respect in the industry and you respect their work. So whether that's the individual people, whether that's councils or organizations, whether that is private consulting firms, and then to have a dig around in the work that they've done. Maybe that's through conference papers, maybe that's through their website. I'll give you an example. When I first started at Logan City Council, I really quite soon after I started, I met the crew from Ideanthro, including Sean Linster, and I came to really respect Sean, and I learned a lot from him, but also from trawling the Ideanthro website quite early on. So for me, what I used to do, I used to go to the Ideanthro website, and you can see that they've got the standard pages about who they are and their people, but then they've got a whole bunch of different pages that are examples of their work. And I'm not trying to promote Ideanthro here, but I'm just trying to give you a story that's personally relevant to me about how I did this. And Ideanthro happened to be people that I respected at the time and still do respect. So you could come along, you could look at, for example, the residential Worcester page that we're on here, and there's a whole bunch of different projects that they've been involved with. And so you could then, for example, either use Google Maps to figure out where they are, and then go to the appropriate council's PD Online tool and try and find them. Still going to be a little bit tedious trying to do that, but you could give that a crack. Or the other thing that you could do, and here's one I prepared earlier, take you some inspiration from a cooking show there. For example, I knew that Ideanthro had worked on a big development out at Yarrabilba. Literally, go to Google Yarrabilba Stormwater Management Plan. You will be surprised what comes up. This, for example, is a stormwater management plan prepared nearly 3 years ago by Ideanthro out at Yarrabilba. Now, I can't tell you how current this is. There might have been more recent updates, but it can get you into it and get you going fairly well. And there's all sorts of good info there. And so I would start out by playing around with that and see where you go. Try different firms. Don't have to try Ideanthro. Try whoever you want. But start searching in that way. It's going to be a bit manual. It's going to take a little bit of time. But you know what? Learning requires some commitment. Learning requires some time. So I'm not overly stressed about giving you a recommendation like that. Okay, sweet. That's it for this episode. Jonathan, thank you for the question. I hope that you find this useful. Good luck searching around, and let me know how you go. Cool. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.